Hey, this is Andy Brown from the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp as we continue on building out the Cloud Project Bootcamp validation tool. Now, the part that we're at is we are attempting to download as much information in order to analyze what's going on with the actual stack. And so, knowing exactly what endpoints we want to test for, we can write those out by hand. But wouldn't it be interesting if we could maybe use ChatGPT to say, like, hey, what AWS CLI commands should we be looking for? And there's a few ways we could do that. We could give it a description of the project and see what commands it would produce. But also we could, just provide the cloud formation and see if we could figure that out. So that's what I'm going to try to do today. Is I'm going to go ahead and go back over here into my OmenKing repo here, and we have a bunch of cloud formation templates. And so we're going to go over into week 10. And it can't cover everything, of course, but it can cover quite a bit. And so what I want to have back is basically a list of endpoints that we'll check. So what we'll do is we'll go into our AWS directory. We'll go into our CFN directory. And so we have all these CFN templates, right? So what I'm going to do is go over to ChatGPT. I'm going to create a new chat. I'm going to use 3.5 because it is the more cost-effective one, and I think that it can still do a decent job for this. And so the first message I want to send to it will be to tell the ChatGPT how I want it to act. And so you are going to you are a grading assistant. I'm trying to describe what it is because yes, we wanted to do grading later on, but right now what we want to do is figure out what endpoints to check. So you are a cloud engineer. You are a cloud instructor. A cloud instructor inspecting students' AWS infrastructure to ensure their cloud projects running in their own AWS accounts are real. You need to determine which AWS CLI commands to run in order to pull JSON data that we will later use to verify if they configured their projects, if the expected AWS resources are there with specific configurations. Okay. And it's already starting to spit stuff out, but I never really told it anything, okay? You can use the various commands. Yeah, so it's just saying like what commands we can do. So I'm going to go over here and let's provide it first our networking layer. Okay, so we'll go here. So we'll go here. Here is a CLF template of resources that are set up that students will deploy into their own account. We need to determine what AWS CLI commands to run. Okay, and let's see what it comes up with. And it's doing a very good job here. So here we have describe VPCs. Okay, stack name. And notice that it's doing a filter on that there. So, this is another thing that I've considered is like, should we be doing this where certain tags are applied? It's just a matter if you can go retroactively tag your things. And so what we'll do is we'll log into AWS if we're not already logged in, and I think I'm not right now. And I just want to see, like, could you go back and tag stuff? Okay, so I'm going to go here. I didn't really think about tagging until now, really, but I mean, it's not that I forgot about it, but it's like when we were doing it throughout the entire boot camp, we weren't applying it to everything that we were doing because I didn't have a tagging structure at the time. And so I need my phone for that. Do I have my phone on me? Yes, I do. Gotta love security. Okay, and I'm gonna go here to this one. So I'll just type this in here. Oh, it's already gonna expire. There we go. Okay, and so now I'm into my account here. What I want to do? Yeah. I don't need that console again. What I want to get the heck out of there. What I want to do is make my way over to VPC because there's things like Internet Gateway. Can you retroactively tag things? And should we do that? It does narrow it down and make it a little bit more secure. But if somebody failed to tag something, then we're not going to see those resources. And then it's just more configuration that the student has to do. So in here, internet gateways, we'll go over here. Show me them. I don't know why it's not showing them to me here. Okay, well, we'll go to VPCs here, and today AWS seems to be really upset. It's just running really darn slow and not really returning anything. I wonder if they're having service issues right now. What the heck is going on? AWS status page. AWS health status. Usually we're not having issues like that. Yeah, sure, because it's a bit of a headache right now. Okay, now they're showing up. Internet gateways. All right, well, AWS is lying to me. I'm clearly having issues accessing things. And just so you know, just because AWS says they have status page doesn't mean they're reliable. I mean, they're usually pretty good, but, health, status. I don't know why it's so darn hard to find it. They used to be really easy to find the health check pages. Statuses. Because there's two different pages. I have it in my course. This is the internal one. I'm looking for the external facing page. I don't know why it's not showing this here, but there definitely are issues. Scheduled changes. Anything. Maybe health aware. Is this the new one? No, that's not it. This is a pain in the butt. But anyway, I can't seem to see that stuff. That doesn't necessarily mean that the APIs don't work. It just means the console doesn't work. But anyway, I assume that we could probably apply tags retroactively, but here, the commands. So here, like, we're looking for very specific gateways. So to get information about the internet gateway, to check the VPC gateway is attached, to retrieve the information. Yeah. So here, you would have to provide the exact one, and I guess it just depends if there is more details in the other ones here. Well, anyway, I'm going to change this so that there doesn't require rewrite to not require checking on tags. Okay. And then I can go over here to here into our payloads or AWS, wherever this command's here. rewrite to follow this format. Let's see if I can figure it out. For all the previous commands suggested. Not just one, all of them, please. Okay. Rewrite, so all in a single file. Okay, but still as separate functions. There we go. All right, so that's looking a lot better. And so I can just go ahead and drag this up. You know, so it is making it a little bit easier. The question is, do we have any kind of overlapping ones? I don't know, but we'll go down here and just paste this in. Allow. EC2 describe VPCs. You know, and so the thing is that some of these work. Like the only issue here is that you know, this one is looking for a specific one. I don't really want to be describing anything. Like it should just be generic calls. So I'll go back here and, you know, don't filter for specific resources. Since we can just use ChatGPT to cross-reference associations. Okay, let's see if I can figure that out. All right, and so we'll take a look here again, and we'll go back over here. And so we have EC2 describe VPCs. It looks the same as what I did. That's good. Internet gateways. Do we have that one? Internet gateways. We do. Same story. VPC attachments. So I didn't think of that. So that's a good idea. Paste that in like that. Route tables. Did we do that? List tables. We didn't do route tables yet. Good. Paste that in there. Also, we have describe subnets. Did we do subnets? We did. Okay, and so, you know, that's starting to work out pretty well. And so we can do that. Now, the only problem is not everything is part of our infrastructure. So, okay, so maybe like we can keep giving it that kind of stuff, but I think that maybe we should describe what our stuff does. So, okay, so the application in question, the cloud project hosted on AWS has the following infrastructure, has the following design. It's a Python web application running containerized on Fargate. A Python web application containerized that maybe we should write this somewhere else for a second. So, you know, the thing is, like, if we had a good outline, I'm going to just go over here. You know, if we can describe it here, this is going to be part of our documentation. Of course, I'm always writing documentation. So maybe we should just itemize what it is and place that in our outline. So we'll go over here. I'm just finding it off screen because I just don't want to show all my emails here. For AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp outline, we'll go here and see if we have a verbose enough descriptor. And you know, here it does describe things. Now I haven't been keeping this up to date, so it needs to needs some rework here. But learning outcomes, and this would be like architecture description. Architecture description. Okay, and so I'm going to try to describe the architecture. So this is a description of the AWS architecture. It does not include it does not describe every AWS resource, as it's implied in some cases they are being used. Okay, so a custom VPC with 3 public subnets that route out to the internet. So we have that, a RDS instance. All resources attempt to use this custom VPC. All resources generally will run in a preferred region based on the user's, the student's choice. However, some services will run in other AWS regions based on AWS's requirements. Or restrictions, limitations or restrictions. A custom VPC with 3 public subnets that route on the internet. All AWS resources attempt to use the custom VPC. So we have that. An ECS Fargate cluster running which allows users to running a container for the backend application. A containerized backend application. An ECS Fargate cluster running a service for the backend Flask application. The backend Flask application. I could talk about like X-ray being instrumented, but I'm concerned that if I do that, then, you know, because I wasn't very strict about checking for X-ray, so, or even utilizing it myself, so I don't want to overdo that there. This is a description of the AWS architecture in bullet form. It does not describe every AWS resource as it implied. In some cases, they are being used. Resources generally will run in a preferred region based on the student choice. However, some services will run in other AWS regions based on AWS limitations and restrictions. A custom VPC with 3 public subnets that route on the internet. All AWS resources attempt to use the custom VPC. An ECS Fargate cluster running a single service for the backend Flask application. The backend Flask application container image is hosted in a private ECR repo. Okay, so there's that. The ECS, the Fargate services are using ECS Connect. So that's something that's important to list. An application load balancer is serving traffic to the a custom domain name that has its own hosted zone. The custom domain, a custom domain that has its a domain name, a custom domain that is hosted, that is being managed by Route 53. An internet-facing application that is serving traffic that is of API. A backend Flask application container. The backend Flask application runs on port 4567. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we have that. We have I'm just thinking here. I mean, we're applications. I mean, we have the diagram. We just take a look at it, I suppose. And this is not necessarily true. I mean, we do have health checks. So, I mean, there should be health checks. Go back over here to... Where's my description? Over here. Okay. The target group for the backend Flask application is performing health checks. A CI/CD pipeline. Code pipeline that is sourcing from GitHub for deploying the code pipeline has a code build, a build step using code build to build a Docker image and push to our ECR repo. For the backend Flask application. container image. Let's keep describing this here. An RDS image. Sorry, an RDS Postgres server that is internet available in public subnets. Okay, so that should be in our custom, which is used by the backend Flask application. Okay. A DynamoDB table that has a DynamoDB stream, which triggers a Lambda to write updates to the same DynamoDB table. We have a Cognito user pool used for authentication in our web application. We have a post confirmation webhook, Lambda webhook that that inserts a new user into our RDS Postgres database. There's that. What else is there? Probably in here, the code pipeline deploy steps uses ECS deployer, not code deploy. Okay. Do we have it in here? The front end here? We do. So we have a front end React static website hosted on an in an S3 bucket, which is only accessible via a CloudFront distribution, which the CloudFront distribution for the static website hosting is for both the www and naked domain. Which redirects to HTTPS. The application load balancer and CloudFront distributions. The application load balancer and CloudFront distributions all use HTTPS and is using a public certificate generated by Amazon Certification Manager. Let's go back over here to this. We have that. Rev53 is pointing the naked domain, and www to the CloudFront distribution that serves the static front-end React application, where the API is serving the backend Flask application, whereas the assets subdomain is serving the CloudFront distribution for the graphical assets, for the graphical assets. The assets such as our application has avatars, profile photos, which are uploaded directly uploaded client side to an S3 bucket. Our application has profile photos which are uploaded client side. We do this by having an API gateway, an HTTP API gateway that uses, which will generate out endpoint, which will generate out a pre-signed URL that can be used for the client side upload. Our API gateway uses a Lambda authorizer for our Cognito pool. Okay. I'm trying to remember an API gateway because in there we have a thing we were supposed to set there for cores. Routes, integration. Oh yeah, we set a proxy, yeah. In our HTTP API gateway, we use to handle the cores custom Lambda to handle the cores request. Reflight check. Okay. So there's that. I'm trying to think what else. We didn't really diagram that, did we? The maybe it's somewhere, but we could use a much better diagram in here for the API gateway. I don't think we ever did that for some reason. CRUD streams, that's fine. Backend service. Front-end, SAM, RDS. It's very easy to forget all the stuff that we've done because we've done a lot. So, I mean, I think that's an okay description. I'm hoping that that is enough information. I just can't really remember anything else. But yeah, our diagram still is missing our the API gateway, which I really should just throw in here really quickly if I can. API gateway, even if it's not the best. Yeah, one's for networking, one's for application integration. Well, we're using it for this one. So what's this? API gateway endpoint. So, I mean, that is an endpoint. We'll just go here and do it as quick as we can. Just because I just don't want to forget how it works. I don't know if we wrote that in here, that they're served by there. Go back to our documentation. Our assets. Well, there's one other thing here is that there's the process to which images are processed. So our application has profile files which are uploaded client side. We do this by having an HTTP API endpoint which will generate out a pre-signed URL, which will point to a lambda that will generate out a pre-signed URL to a bucket that will hold raw images, raw assets. The bucket that holds raw assets, when new files are uploaded to the bucket holding raw assets, this will trigger via S3 event notifications a lambda which will process the images into thumbnails, and it will output the images into another bucket which we'll call assets. This assets bucket serves bucket is only accessible via a CloudFormation distribution that will from the assets subdomain. Okay, and so that describes that. So I'll go back over here, and hopefully I remember it. This is the problem, is that when you aren't doing this for a while, you easily forget. So we have one here. Let's go back here and grab some text. So this is our CRUDder image, like, return pre-signed URL. They should really have separate ones. We don't actually do that, but I'm gonna pretend that they do. So like cores, pre-flight cores. Okay, and so this one here, we'll drag one out to here, so that will be avatars. Like this. Avatars. Again, I'm doing this really dirty because I just want it done. This one's like proxy. It's like a plus on it or something. And so this is going to be options, by the way. Options, this is probably a post. Okay, and then obviously this is like that, and this is like this. I'll just take these off here. Pre-flight cores. So there's that, and we also have this one, which is assets. Okay. And so actually there's a difference because some are US East 1 and other ones are CA Central. I think this one is CA Central and this was US1. There's probably a reason why. We probably had to do it that way for a reason. I don't remember. You'd remember better than me. Yeah, so we have this one here. So this one's going to be, this is front, like assets here. The aliases here is just assets. Okay. Right. And then this one is serving up here. So I got to bring this up here. All the way up here. I mean, it's kind of related, right? So because this is for a very specific bucket, and we'll look for our buckets here. So we'll go here, and we have, they both have images in it. I don't know why we do one. And yeah, the other one's empty. That's why I did it that way. So this will be our assets crutter.com. And then this one over here is our, like raw assets bucket. And so the idea is that this is giving access to this one. I'm going to make this one a bit special because it's a bit different. Access pre-signed URL for this bucket. Okay. And so when this bucket is hit, it's going to trigger S3 event notification. S3 events. There isn't really an icon for this, so I'll just go ahead and make my own S3 event notification. Okay. Which will trigger this Lambda here. Process image. And this will be you're using Sharp.js because that's one thing that it does. Okay, and then it'll drop it in here. And we did learn, I think, that we should have placed it in a subdirectory for some reason. I don't remember why. And so here, we'll go here, and this would be the origin. So I do this like this, origin like that. So oops. It's not a static website hosting. At least I don't think we set static website hosting on it, but we do match the subdomain on it for whatever reason. Just flip that around. And so then that goes there. Right? And so that's how that whole process works. I don't know if we have our Cognito pool on here, so because we didn't turn that in the CloudFormation template, at least not yet, unless I decide to do it last minute here. So we have our Cognito user pool. Go here and just say user pool. User pool. And that does have a Lambda, so insert user into database, right? And then I'll bring another box over here. Post confirmation hook. I'm just trying to get these in here because I just don't want to forget them. There's that. And so this thing actually does check on here. So over here, we'll just give this a slightly different line here. And this is Lambda authorizer. Authorization. Right. The other place that it uses it is in the web application, but we don't really show that in the diagram. Maybe we should, but we don't at this point. So I'm just trying to think if there's any other loose ends that are not included in there. Looking down below here. Yeah, it was just DynamoDB and the auth. No, we did make that as a template. I think we're just missing auth. We never did auth. Yeah, we got lazy on that. And some of our pipelines missing for API gateway. Right? So we never reincorporated that stuff. So that is better representation there. We'll go back to our documentation here. I think that's everything. I think. So now what we'll do is we'll go back and say, I'll go here and say, okay, and so now we'll go ahead and give it a go and see if it can do it. Fingers crossed. Did not take any of those hyphens. I thought they'd all be there, but I guess because they're not really shown as bullet points, and now it's not going to know this is bullet points. Okay, but it is generating out stuff, so it's looking pretty good. Now, again, it's not a separate functions. Is this everything? We got API Gateway, CloudFront, S3, Cognito Pool, DynamoDB tables, RDS, code pipeline. Here, it's still being specific. You know, just like before, separate functions in the same file, and try not to specify specific resources if not necessary. Okay. Okay, but you need to do this for the entire description provided of the architecture. I mean, there should be a lot. It's not doing what I want. So I think we have to kind of chunk it and help it out here, but it's we're getting somewhere, right? So I'm just gonna pause, be back here in a moment. I'm just really hungry. I don't think did we make any major changes here? Yeah, we added one here. But there should be some way that we can get ChatGPT to produce the stuff, but it's just the amount of data, it's having a hard time for some reason. So I'll be back here in a moment, okay? Just a second here. I think it's recording and hit pause again. Sorry. Just so you know, I don't know if I came back and recorded all that because it only says 48 minutes here. But we just wrote all of these here. If you didn't catch all that, sorry. But sometimes my pause isn't working correctly. I have this double click problem right now with my mouse, but like the timer says 49 minutes. I imagine I must have done more time. But I'm gonna stop the video here and we're gonna come back and do more cleanup, okay? Ciao.